Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Love Fruit podcast. This time coming to you from Terra Frutis in Ecuador, which is a fruit-based vegan eco village out here, which is also where the Amazon Fruit Fest happens, which is where I'm at right now. And for any of you in the UK interested in learning more about this diet and lifestyle, we also have the UK Fruit Fest happening this year. You can go to fruitfest.co.uk to learn more about that. Today I'm joined by a very fascinating and interesting guest, Nicholas Mortoyas. Originally from Greece, Nicholas has been an osteopath, an acupuncturist, and originally from Greece, as I said, has lived in the United Kingdom as well and worked there, and now finds himself out here in Ecuador with this fantastic little house in the middle of the Amazon jungle, really.
Yes.
And Nicholas has a lot of experience as a raw foodist, a fruitarian, so we're going to learn more about that. Nicholas, is there anything else you want to say about yourself to introduce yourself?
I think you've covered most of it, Ronnie. Yes.
Excellent. So Nicholas, were you brought up on a vegan or raw vegan diet in Greece?
No, I've brought up in the standard diet, Mediterranean diet with more flesh and secretions than in the past. But 1999, I went to UK to study as an osteopath, and there someone told me how about eating like vegan and not harming the animals and causing so much pain and suffering, and also it's more not eating flesh and secretion is most optimum for the health. So at that time the concept clicked on me, and it was quite logical and ethical for me, so I became vegan at that time, like more than 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what made you get into osteopathy, and what is that?
Okay, that's an interesting question. When I was about 15, I was doing skateboarding in Greece, and I had a bad fall. I had an accident and I hurt my low back. And at that time I visited the local doctors, the orthopedic doctor and the physiotherapist, and they couldn't let me know exactly what's the problem, or I couldn't get any relief from the medication I was receiving. So I was quite worried, and then I visited an osteopath in another town, and from after 2-3 sessions I started feeling a lot better. And I was fascinated on the work he did and the natural methods he used and the effect. So I decided to be an osteopath at that time, and yeah, which I couldn't study in Greece, and then I moved to UK.
Excellent. So you went vegan there in 1999. Was it a fairly easy transition for you, or you take some time?
It was, I remember at first for the first 6 months I cut the flesh, and then after the 6 months also the animal secretions, like the dairy, the eggs and stuff. So it was a 6 months and 6 months. So I would say it took me a few months to transition to that. But I don't consider it was very challenging, yeah.
Did you receive any benefits that you noticed?
I've noticed the plant-based diet brought more peacefulness and calmness in me, and I guess it's both the diet, the lower protein, and not the hormones of the flesh, and also the concept of being more peaceful and not harming unnecessarily other So both of them, I think, brought more peace in myself and energy.
And when did you start to move towards more of the fruit-based raw diet?
Okay, that was about 10 years after, when at that time I heard by someone the concept of why to burn our vegetables, to eat them and not eat them in a raw, more alive state than the rest of the animal and the rest of the animals. And that concept I thought was fascinating, to not like transform and process, heat process the vegetables. And also because I could see the loss of color and the loss of vibrancy in them when that happened, and also I've read the chemicals that are formed in those when you heat them. So it made sense to me that that's a more of a healthier option and a more of a vibrant, alive option. So at that time I started to eating more fruits, more raw, more salads, and gradually, I watched also some videos at that time. It was the 2012, I became raw vegan completely, and at that time it was the Woodstock Festival and the Fully Raw Christina and Dan the Man and Durian Rider Freely. I remember, and the Woodstock, so I could see a movement, and I could see Christina being very passionate about her recipes and her lasagna and her spaghetti. So all that kind of inspired me even more, and for 2 years I was really into the raw diet, dehydrators, blenders, raw gourmet dishes until 2014.
And what happened in 2014?
2014, like these 2 years doing all this raw gourmet with no burnt plant matter at all. With time, I kind of thought, why do I need to make things as complicated and process all this raw material and spend so many hours? And at the end, I thought it's more simple and more efficient to eat it like as a whole. And at that time I realized that some of the plant matters unprocessed raw were not as satisfying to me, apart from fruits. Fruits was like really easy to eat, easy to digest, tasty, just how it was. So I ended up eating more and more fruits. And at that time I also heard the concept of Fruitarianism, and the concept of, like, I always remembered, like in Genesis we have the concept of Eden and people eating fruits and being happy and in harmony with the environment. So at that time when I learned about Fruitarianism, and I read also a book by Mango Wotsak, Eden Fruitarianism, and Destination Eden, I think it's called. Also this image of Genesis came back to my mind, and I thought how a nice way to transform this world. And so in 2014 I became a Fruitarian.
And what does that mean to you, Fruitarian?
Fruitarianism for me means a diet that is most optimum for human beings, is a diet that gives respect to other creatures around us and living beings, like the animals, the plants also in some ways, and it's also a very simplistic way of life that helped me come back to nature and appreciate nature and value it. So it's more of some symbiotic life with the environment.
Yeah, so that's what I've always thought that the pure fruitarians kind of have a bit of an ethical side of towards nature, towards plants.
Yes, and I've realized also with time that the plants are also living beings that would like to do their circle, their grow, procreate, and so they have some poisons in their leaves, in their stems, in some parts of them that they like to prevent other animals to consume them. So when I've realized that also through chemistry and nutrition and biology that also plants have some chemicals that maybe are not ideal also for us or a bit toxic, like some herbs and stuff. That was also something that I considered. Yeah. So for me, it was ethics and also health.
So since 2014, you've been a fruitarian, and as a diet, what does that mean to you? What are the actual foods that you eat? What do you not eat?
Okay. I think when I've started Fruitarianism, because I was coming from the raw vegan gourmet of the low fat concept, and I was reading the 80-10-10 book at that time, and the whole movement, I remember, it was really into the 80-10-10 during those days.
Yeah.
So at that time, when I switched to Fruitarianism and I had that concept, I realized that I thought that, okay, why not give up fat completely? And at that time on the medical world, I was hearing like fat is like the enemy, and I thought, why not give up also fatty fruits completely? So for 6 years, I kind of ate only sweet fruits and vegetable fruits that are tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis, pumpkins, and also the sweet fruits or the acidic fruits, with no fat fruits. And at that time, like over the years, and I was living in Greece and losing weight I was starting losing more and more weight, more and more muscle mass, and feeling more weak, especially at winters. And I had some points that I went very low in weight, and kind of anorexic, and suffered with depression and some other issues, because for many years I didn't have any fruit fats. And then at some point I realized that that's maybe not optimum for humans, and maybe fatty fruits are also there for a reason. And when I came here to Ecuador, I started eventually incorporating more fatty fruits like avocado, and also here in the Amazon we have some fatty fruits that grow here, like the apay, the niacu, the aguaje, the copal. So there is more variety, some local varieties of avocados. So now my diet consists of fruits, all type of fruits. I don't exclude any type of fruits, and depends on the availability of the season, depends on what is around me. I don't like count percentages or ratios.
Well, what was a typical day for you like when you were a fruitarian in Greece, and what does it look like for you here?
Okay. When I was in Greece, I've realized after a year in Fruitarianism the quality of the fruit being fresh and being foraged and being collected, and so I was doing a lot of foraging, especially the months that there was a lot of figs and grapes around and mulberries, so I was doing a lot of foraging. So I remember I was waking like 6-7 o'clock in the morning, like when the birds come out, and I was going foraging for an hour. What was available, as I said, mulberries, and then it was apricots, and then it was loquats, and then it was some cherries, and later the figs and the grapes. So I was monomilling after the foraging at around 7:30. That was my breakfast. And then later in the day, around 3 o'clock, I will eat a second monomeal of either sweet fruits or more, as I said, vegetable fruits of tomatoes, cucumbers, and zucchinis, especially in the summer. That in Greece they are pretty tasty.
Do you think that with your losing weight, do you think it was to do with not eating fat, or do you think you may have been eating quite a low calorie diet as well when you were
Okay.
Greece? Or do you think the fat makes it some kind of difference?
From my experience, and I'm not an expert, I believe that it's both. I believe calories is a very important concept that, and because I've used to count calories also, and so I kind of see the difference when the calories were counted and was a certain number and when they were not. Because with tomatoes, zucchinis and cucumbers you can easily go in low calories, especially if you don't eat fatty fruits.
Sure, yeah.
But if you eat figs and bananas and grapes and other high calorie dense fruits. So in summer I was picking weight, even only on sweet fruits, and in winter when the fruits were low calorie, like citrus, and also like contain a lot of water and they are not dense sweet, I was losing a lot of weight.
Right.
So I think calories is very important, and the density of the fruits.
Right.
Also, I believe that fat also helps us retain more fat in our body by eating fatty fruits.
Right.
So I think a combination.
Sure. And a lot of people who criticize or don't like a pure fruitarian diet or an Eden fruitarian diet, they are concerned about people not eating enough vegetables or greens. What's your response or thought about that?
Okay. I remember myself when I was eating no fatty fruits and eating mainly like sweet fruits. There was times that I was craving what I thought the electrolytes, the salt, the minerals. And that's why I ended eating sometimes more tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchinis than I would have liked.
Right.
Just to balance that. But still, those eaten in quantity, they're very diuretic, I found, and also low calories. So I was getting some electrolytes, but I was also losing electrolytes. So I don't think that was balancing enough long term without greens. When I've switched to the fatty fruits, though, I understand and I feel they have more minerals and more sodium in them. And when I have like sweet and fatty fruits together, I feel balanced. I don't crave like the salt or the minerals as I used to have. So that's how I balanced not eating greens by incorporating more fatty fruits in my diet.
Sure. And have you received any, so I don't think we even went into the difference when you went raw vegan and fruitarian. Now, in terms of health benefits, other benefits you may have had compared to a cooked plant-based diet, what have you experienced there?
Yes. Going from the carnivorous diet to the vegan diet, I thought it was one step. But going from the burnt chemistry, the cooked chemistry, to the raw chemistry, it was, I thought, a lot more steps and a lot more harder. I realized the addiction the cook and the food had on me. And the health benefits, though, I found it was a lot more than from meat eating to the vegan diet. So instantly I felt my body lighter, I felt more energy, I felt more clarity on my mind and thoughts, more balance on emotions. I started becoming more inspired with life and living, and not wanting to slowly deteriorate my life. I started finding goals, so the whole life became more meaningful and more vibrant, more alive. Some health. I didn't have any major health issue to heal, but I noticed differences on my body, like as I said, my energy and my mood and my clarity. So that was a big step. And then from going from raw gourmet to the fruitarian, that was the key point that brought me closer to nature. That's when I felt the need to go outside in nature and spend hours in it, try to forage, try to be in contact with fruit trees, want to plant my own trees and be in a farm. That's what made me decide to leave the city and the town lifestyle. And when I became fruitarian long term, not just for a year, I felt the need to supplement myself from the natural elements. What I mean natural elements, I mean clean air, waters from streams, to be in touch barefoot with the soil, have sun, constant UV, supplementing with vitamin D and my body, and be more naked. So being fruitarian, really I've realized how important it is to live back close to nature. And eventually that is the reason I came to Ecuador and to Terra Frutis and started my own farm out of necessity, out of inspiration, to supplement and maintain long-term the fruitarian diet and lifestyle.
You mentioned about breaking the addiction to cook food. For someone who's trying to do that right now, what's your advice to them?
Okay. For me, there were some things that helped me break that addiction that might help others. One thing is, first I started disassociating the word food from burnt plant matters. So when I will see a boiled potato or a roasted vegetable, I automatically consider it poison. I no longer in my mind consider it food. So I disassociated the word food from anything heat processed. And kind of associated with poison, with chlorine, with a toxic substance. That was one thing. The second thing is I made some social lifestyle changes. I started socializing and spending activities with close people, with friends, outside of food time, out of lunch, not in lunch or in dinner. I started having activities with going for a walk, for a hike, for conversations, for other hobbies we had, but not revolving around food.
Yeah.
So I've limited my exposure on being in dinners and lunch with others when there was constant smells and exposure of cooked plants, because as in every addiction that has very strong hold of you, you need to completely cut it off and go away for it for a significant amount of time. Like the drug addicts or the alcoholics, they need to cut completely and not being in contact or in constant view of and images of those substances. Mm-hmm. So I had to make some difficult lifestyle choices at that time.
Sure.
And also another thing is continuously learn about the benefits of raw, reading books, looking videos on YouTube, hearing like pioneers, like a constant bombardment in a way, positive of information to reprogram my mind and my perception what food is, like inspiration and cutting off the stimuli of what I wanted to get rid of.
Excellent advice. Yeah, good points. So you were inspired to come out here, you changed to a fruitarian diet, you felt the need to grow your own fruit, be in nature, be naked, all these, be around fruit trees. And people really do feel that when they change to start eating more fruit. They feel the great calling of being more connected with nature or more in harmony. What was the process? How did you find out about this place? How did you make the transition to living here?
Okay. When I've realized after being, like, as I said, 6 years Fruitarian in a city, how I couldn't thrive, and I had these problems in the winter and with low weight and with the pollution and not enough sun, I had to make a choice. Either go back to not being fruitarian and incorporate other foods and carry on living on a town and change the lifestyle, or I had to make a drastic change and get away from the city to be able to follow that long term and feel happy, because I was getting more moody and depressed in a city environment and in a normal job that I had from 9 to 7 at that time. So when I went very low, I had to make this decision and get out of a really beautiful country that Greece is, that it wasn't serving me anymore. And I've searched online where I could find raw vegan communities or fruitarian communities that grow their own trees. And that's how I came across the Fruit Heaven Eco Village at first, and then later Terra Frutis community. And for me it was important to have a piece of my own land and grow my own fruit trees and have a simple house. And here in Ecuador it was easy to get a visa to stay here long term. It was the Amazon that was very appealing to me. It was quite pristine in nature, and also the ability to buy land on and Terra Frutis and Fruit Heaven offered that possibility. So at first I came to Fruit Heaven, then to Terra Frutis, and I volunteered for many months. So I learned permaculture, how to take care of fruit trees, and also I explored the different lands. And after a year and a half, I bought a piece of lot, my own lot, and started growing fruit trees, and the dream came true.
Which is where we're sitting right now, on your lot here in the Terra Frutis
Yes.
personal plots. Do you want to talk about what is Terra Frutis and Fruit Haven?
Yes,
And how did you find out about them?
I found them online. I looked online for all vegan and fruitarian communities in YouTube, and the first images I saw was the Amazon Fruit Festival at that time, that it just had started, and also Kevin Rohilin Mastery at that time, who was living in Fruit Heaven, had made some videos, and that was inspiring. So that's how I found about it, and the website.
And what are these? What exactly are
yes.
these places?
Fruit Heaven is a eco village, and a fruit-based eco village where people come and learn how to grow their own fruits, trees, and vegetables, and they have the ability to buy small plots of land that other investors have bought originally, like big parts of land that they have split it in smaller plots, and that is easy to get access and buy. And also they have the as I said, the ability to help you create like your own, develop your own lot with fruit trees and house, so you can make that reality. If you don't have the knowledge about it, you can find help. And also Terra Fruitis, especially is an intentional community, is a bigger community where someone who doesn't want to have his own piece of land or his own lot, but wants to live with like-minded individuals, they can live in a communal environment, they can live in the community, they can be members of the community and cooperate to create, like to plant a lot of fruit trees and reforest pasture lands and wild Amazon forests and make them fruit farms. Terra Fruitis has certain core values. One core value is plant-based diet, whole foods plant-based diets, and highly raw, highly fruit-based. It's not completely raw, but it's highly raw, highly fruit-based. So that's one of the core values. The second core value is permaculture and reforestation, as I said, with fruit trees. A third core value is non-violent communication among the residents and the members of the community. Fourth value is abstinence of psychoactive substances, like not to be influenced under substances, to live daily and cooperate with others and coexist with others without the need of these substances. So we have this core value and veganism, of course. That's is the main core values of Terra Fruitis.
And you have your farm now. You've shown me around a lot of the fruit trees that you're growing, all sorts of tropical fruits. It's a beautiful climate here. It's a nice. It's not too hot. It's not cold at all.
Yes.
There's a little rain now and again. Can actually be a little cloudy now and again, which is quite nice as well. Do you have any challenges living here, or do you feel that you've found your own sort of piece of paradise?
Okay. This question, yes, I found a piece of my own paradise which I need to create, because paradise, we need to create it. It's not available naturally. But with the help of nature, we create it. But there are challenges, of course. One challenges are the insects, the gnats, the no-see-ums. But that's a challenge that usually is short-term, like for 6 months. After 6 months, you get a lot more accustomed to them. And when the years past 1, 2, 3 years, then you are very minimal bothered or none at all about their existence. So this challenge has kind of almost passed now for me.
I've got to say, I've been surprised by how I've barely been affected by any of the insects here.
Yes.
In terms of not really seeing them that much, not really being bitten that much.
Yes.
You know, so it's, for me, that's been surprising. I was, you know, half expecting to come out and have, you know, lots of different insects coming into the room or being in the room where the food was, and really to me there hasn't been that many, and I don't think I've been bitten that much either. So
yes, the main problem is the insects that you don't see. That's why they call no-see-ums or gnats. They're very tiny and they bite usually around the wrists and the ankles, and that usually doesn't start like within the first 1 or 2 weeks. It gradually gets more and more after a few weeks. And for every person is different. Some people react more on them, they bite them more, some others less. So for a number of people it's challenging the first 3 to 6 months, but then it gets easier and easier. So that was one main challenge I had living here personally. The other big challenge, which I consider it like a PhD or a doctorate degree is how to live communally. This is the most difficult thing, not difficult but challenging thing that I've had so far in my life, how to live communally. And things I'm keep learning, things that like develop with time, and now the more time passes, the more I'm become adapted, and I'm a positive contributing to the communal life.
Excellent, excellent. So for people that maybe are looking to do something like you, buying land, growing their own trees, what would be your advice to them?
For me is first someone to be clear about the reasons and the intention why someone wants to do something, and the degree of the effort he is requiring to put into that. So that's like to someone to be clear, to be conscious about a decision. In my opinion, not do it out of just rushing because others do it or because it sounds interesting. I think like consider it a little bit more deeply and giving some time to consider the factors, I think is important. Another important factor is someone to be willing to leave some things like of the society or the city lifestyle behind, and be able not to miss them too much, you know, because there are people who are fascinated by the idea. They come, they try for a few months, but then they miss certain elements of the city lifestyle or some human relationships that they left there, and they went back.
Sure.
And so I think someone is, I think, will help if he considers all the factors, know himself, and knows like the challenges he might.
Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe come out and see the place first.
Yes.
Maybe come to the festival.
Exactly.
Good idea.
That's what I did. 2019, I went to Fruitarian for 3 months. It was the tourist visa. And then I've checked the place, then went back to Greece. And then I've decided that yes, it is for me. And a year later came back, 2020, ready for permanent residence.
Great, great. Yeah, so you're also an acupuncturist.
Yes.
What do you think about that? What's the benefits of that?
Okay. I'm an osteopath and acupuncturist. Acupuncturist, I think, is quite helpful and beneficial, especially in individuals who live not in nature, and their nervous system is very loaded with like chemicals and pollution and unbalanced emotions and extreme emotions, and also chemicals from food that bombard the nervous system and the hormones and the immune system. So the more in a way toxic a person is, or not in contact with nature, from my understanding, the more in need of tools like acupuncture they have, because they need something to offload the nervous system, stimulate certain areas that there are imbalances, hormonal, emotional, and immune system, like lymph glands. But it's a tool that the more in close with nature someone lives, and when someone is in constant contact, as I said, with the natural elements, the earthing, the sun, the plants, then his energy and his nervous system cleans and calms down and balances through those, and there is less need anymore to use needles and stainless steel to stimulate certain points on the body with certain elements. But it's a really good and helpful tool if you have some health issues that you want to balance, and or in transition periods, I believe in it, and I have helped over the years. I've practiced as an osteopath and acupuncturist for 15 years, and I have helped multiple individuals with those tools.
Excellent, excellent. Well, yeah, thank you very much for your time today, Nicholas. How can people, what's your kind of vision here for the future? What are you looking to create for yourself here?
Okay, the vision for me is first Terra Fruitis and the Fruit Heaven and these eco-villages to expand, and more people come and follow this lifestyle and grow their own food and becomes more self-sustainable with time. So the vision is these communities here in the Amazon to expand with conscious individuals. That was like my kind of more collective and social vision, and more like my vision also is like here on my own piece of land and my lot and the house I have here, like individuals to come, like a retreat, and live with me and learn about this lifestyle, how to like eating fruits, being fruitarians, and doing permaculture and cultivating their own fruit trees and being in contact with nature. So to experience this lifestyle really. So that's another vision I have, to inspire and be there and help people who want to learn and this Fruitarian lifestyle, the Eden Fruitarian lifestyle.
And how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me. I have a YouTube channel where I post videos about the Terra Fruitis community, and an Instagram and Facebook. So my Facebook is my name, Nikolaos Murtogias, and my YouTube channel and Instagram is called Nikolaos Fruit Lover. So people can get in contact with me, and also they can get in contact with me when they come and visit the Terra Fruitis community, volunteer or rent for a few months, and meet me here, and also through the Amazon Fruit Festival. Yeah.
So that's Nikolaos Fruit Lover, so Nikolas.
Nikolaos.
Olaos.
Fruit Lover.
Okay.
That's my YouTube and Instagram.
Okay,
channel.
excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you,
Nicholas.
Ronnie, for having me.
It's been really nice to meet you.
Me too. I've
Enjoyed your presence around the festival.
Yes.
I guess I was going to ask you maybe one more thing is, what's your spiritual approach to life? Because it seems like it seems like there's something there as well that maybe you'd like to speak about. I've not directly talked to you about that, but is that part of this as well?
Yes, I think spiritualism and spiritual consciousness, I believe, is important for individuals. And my journey from it, I came from Greece. I come from a Christian Orthodox background. I grew up in a religious family. I came in contact with the scriptures, the Bible, from a very young age, and also with contact with philosophers from ancient Greece. So it was always fascinating to read the Bible and as I said, the philosophers of ancient Greeks, and get an understanding of how my life can be more efficient, more peaceful, more productive, and more meaningful in this. So I grew up in a religious background for many years. Fruitarianism, it was something that again changed my perception about religion and my connection with God and how I perceive God or the higher power or the universe. So Fruitarianism was gradually started getting I became less religious in some ways and more spiritual in other ways, I believe. And transformed my, like, trying to live the paradise here on earth and or in an afterlife. That's what I believe. I believe that paradise is here and now in this earth, and if we want to be happy and thrive, and maybe our goal is to go and create this lost Eden here on our lifetime. So when I realized that concept, that's what is a spiritual understanding for me, to be in contact with all the creatures that exist near me, the living beings, appreciate the gift and the phenomenon of life, and be thankful every day, and enjoy and thrive and like cooperate with the phenomenon of life. And so life is something very alive with me now, like living and thriving and coexisting.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Check out Nicholas at Nicholas Fruit Lover on Instagram, on YouTube, to check out what he's going to do for the future. If you want to learn more about the eco villages here, terrafruitus.com, fruithaven.org, amazonfruitfestival.com. Go and make up your own decision and all that. Speak to the people here, maybe come and investigate it, and see if it's right for you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Yes, thank you, Ronnie. And I would like to say that people who live in the cities and in towns, I think it's important to visit and support the fruit festivals near them, create more fruit festivals, support Ronnie with the UK Fruit Festival, the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I believe constant stimulation and constant support is very vital on those times we live in.
Thank you very much. So, everyone,